The exciting 3D arena fighter style world of Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi is returning to us sometime soon. We just don't know when, but I want to kind of get a gist of what the community is expecting out of this game. Now, I got a couple of points that I want to talk about, and I want to see what everybody thinks in the comment section. Are we expecting character customization? Doesn't need to be character creation. I kind of understand that character creation isn't always a viable option when it comes to these anime games, but you have to understand, as anime fans, we've always wanted to create our own anime characters, right? And we don't want to do it in some one-off spin-off version of whatever video game you're creating. No, we want to do it in the most famous video games that you guys are creating. Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 is one of those most famous fighting games for the Dragon Ball franchise. And I also liken that sentiment to the Naruto universe, where we were asking for character creation in the Storm series, but we never got it. They created an entirely different game with an entirely new engine, and they gave us character creation in that form, but we wanted it in the Storm series, and I think that particular anime is a little easier to implement character creation. So I want to talk about even maybe just something as simple as character customization, changing a couple of moves, the way they look, maybe a couple of outfit colors, things of that nature. Also, are we going to be expecting a massive roster? I'm going to dive into that a little later, but is it realistic to expect for them to give us a massive roster? Here's another thing that I've always thought about. This is something that we have not been able to do until Dragon Ball Xenoverse. And one of the things that I like for a company to do, or a developing company to do, is take what works for other games that they're working on and add it to a new game. Dragon Ball Xenoverse gave us arena style 3v3 battles. And I think that would actually be really great to see in Tenkaichi. What are we expecting from the story mode out of the next developers? Are we expecting something along the lines of the old Budokai games, where they allowed the character or the player to roam freely in the open world and then go to specific areas where they found something? Are they going to make it more of along the lines of a Dragon Ball Z Kakarot story mode? I actually think that would be a great route to go, because that story mode was very immersive and it gave you the opportunity to actually level up the character that you were currently playing with. It also gave you the opportunity to learn new moves or level up certain moves with the specific character. Whatever character you were playing with, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot gave you the opportunity to increase that character's skill. And I thought that was a fantastic way to really bring the life of Dragon Ball Z into the video game, because that's pretty much how they obtain power. They train. So Dragon Ball Z Kakarot did a fantastic job actually bringing this to life. But let's touch on each one of these points that I mentioned today. Now, character customization. I'm not expecting for them to give us character creation. I understand that developers don't feel like character creation should be in every game. But the only reason that I mention character creation is for the simple fact everybody always wants to create a character in their favorite anime universe and actually play with them in a video game. It makes us feel like we're more a part of what we've been adoring for years on end, and even that nostalgia part of our brains, it really touches that part of our minds. So it's always been something that everyone requests when it comes to anime games. So if we don't get character creation, how about character customization? Just being able to change the way certain moves look, the colors, adding a few more particles, maybe even changing the color of a character's outfit, things like that. Now, I understand that more than likely that's not going to happen, but it's probably something that a lot of people would like to see in this new Tenkaichi game. The massive roster returning from the olden days, I don't think that's going to happen. And the only reason I don't think it's going to happen, at least not the base roster, it's not going to be massive. The only reason I don't think that's going to happen is because we're in the era of, we're in the era of DLC. Every game is released half-baked. Rather, it is developed completely, or if it's just missing content. Most games now are released that way, or there's content in mind when the game is being developed. I think that's a ripoff. I think that DLC should... A ripoff is a bit of a harsh term, but I think that if you have an idea for a video game while you're developing the game, you may as well just add that downloadable content, especially if that DLC isn't part of, let's just say, like a story mode or a campaign game. That's what I'm more so focused on in regards to DLC being added to a game before it's released. A campaign game is completely different, because what can happen is there's information for campaign games that can be almost like a different game or giving you the feel of a different character. The video game I'm writing, I do have DLC in mind, but it completely changes the narrative of the base story. So when it comes to fighting games, if you've got characters in mind, just add them into the game. Or I feel like it's cool to say, yeah, we know that Hachiak isn't a part of the original lore, so we're going to add him. He was an add-on character in I believe it was Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2. He even had a little small 30-minute movie. It might have been an hour. I can't really remember. It's been so long since I played Raging Blast, but he was just a part of the roster. But back then, DLC was not a thing. So if you're doing things like movie characters, I understand if you already have that in mind, right? But if it's base roster people, I don't think that's I don't think that's fair, in my opinion. Dragon Ball FighterZ made me the angriest when they added base Goku and base Vegeta. To this day, those two character slots are still gray on my game. I will not buy base Goku and base Vegeta. That to me is a ripoff, that you in the base roster gave me the strongest version of a character and then attempted to make me pay for the weakest version of a character. Now it's a little different in a fighting game because, of course, the mechanics are different. People's got different moves, different frame properties and things of that nature. But there's no way you're going to tell me that I'm paying for base Goku and base Vegeta when they're the weakest version of the main two protagonists. Not happening. So in regards to DLC for fighting games, if you've already got an idea for characters that are already a part of the lore anyway, just add them. But characters like Bojack, I would even go as far as saying Z Broly, Super 13, Cooler, Hachiak, even the GT pack, or if there's a GT pack. I understand that, and I'm down with that because that's not part of the original lore. So by all means, do what you guys want to do in that regard. And I'm of the mindset that anything between Z and Dragon Ball Super should be already in the game when the game is released. That means every single protagonist and every single antagonist from the start of Dragon Ball Z to the end of Dragon Ball Z. That means every single protagonist and every single antagonist from the start of Dragon Ball Super to the end of Dragon Ball Super should be in the base roster. Now, if we're talking about Moro and they were calling it Susanoo Goku, where he kind of like projected this really big version of himself when he was fighting Moro, or if you want to say something about Fissure Vegeta, where he's punching you and you're losing ki and things of that nature, or even Ultra Ego, Granola, Gassed. They're all these versions of these characters. If we haven't been exposed to them in regards to actual animation, like the anime release for these characters, then yeah, they should be DLC if they come out later. Perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. But anything between Super and Z should be added. I'm not that big a fan of Dragon Ball. It was one of the lowest versions of Dragon Ball, period, to me. So I don't really care about Dragon Ball. But we're going to move on. Massive online 3v3 battles with more than one player. Almost the same way Xenoverse does their online battles. Different players, beam struggles all over the place. I am just a big fan of havoc all over the screen, right? There's a bunch of mess just happening all over the screen. People are throwing key blasts everywhere. People saving other players from dying. It just sounds exciting, right? And I would love to see them do that and make it to where everything is just happening on one screen with 6 different players. That just sounds fantastic to me. Because even if you think about Dragon Ball Xenoverse, when you've got 3 different battles with 6 different players happening around the entire arena, it's like, okay. And then they've got health bars underneath your health bar for your teammates. And it's like, okay, I need to be wary of who's about to die, because if they die, then the other players may come and jump me. And just beam struggles, please bring back beam struggles. Don't leave the beam struggles out. That was one of the high points in Dragon Ball Tenkaichi. So just bring that back. I'm excited about this. Hopefully they do give us massive online 3v3 battles, and we'll see, man, because I think that's gonna bring a whole lot of flair to the game, to be perfectly honest. And last but not least, I want to talk about the story mode, right? I do think that there is a bit of an old-fashioned sense for story mode that I have when it comes to fighting games, right? Playing through the game to unlock certain characters. Back in the day, when you played a fighting game, you had to beat the story mode to unlock at least like 6 or 7 different characters. It was a bit of a nuisance, but it's a classic way to get characters unlocked, right? And I love the way that Street Fighter did this. They allowed you to either pay for the characters or you could just fight through the story mode and unlock the characters. That's a fantastic route to take in regards to unlocking the complete roster of a fighting game. This one, I think, would be perfectly fine the same exact way. And if I'm not mistaken, Budokai Tenkaichi did it. They use this format for unlocking the complete roster. So I'm okay with that. But what type of story mode do we want? Do we want the old school story mode from Budokai Tenkaichi days where they allowed you to roam around and find specific power levels in like a city or something, or out in the woods, and you get to follow that up and see what you actually encounter? You get to go down to the ground and pick up little items and things of that nature. To be perfectly honest, I think they should go all out. I'm not even gonna lie. I think they should bring the format of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot to this new Tenkaichi game, because let's be honest, we still love the Dragon Ball story, but it's just about the way that it's formatted, the way that it's delivered to us. If it's delivered in a boring manner like Dragon Ball Fighters did, no, that's not gonna work. That game board style story mode where you go into one spot then you move to the next spot and everything's flat, it's like no. Let's not do that. Let's go all out. Let us experience the battle with Gast and Granola if we're at that point by the time everything is finished. Let us experience the battle with Moro where we're going to different planets. Just go all out. I'm all for them going all out. I don't know. We'll see what the developers got in store for us Tenkaichi fans. I don't know what they're going to call the game, but I also wanted to talk about this. I'm not that big a fan of how it looks, but it is probably just in like an incubation state. So we'll also have to see about that. But you guys get in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the release of this new Dragon Ball game. Do you think it's going to be fire? Do you think they're going to give us a massive roster? Do you think they're going to try to be a little bit more reasonable? What are you looking for in regards to mechanics, UI, not Ultra Instinct, user interface? What are you guys thinking about the character select screen? All that. Get in the comment section. Let me know. Make sure you smack that like button. And you know what else to do. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.